I've told lies before. Small ones, dumb ones, but never a lie that made me question who I've become. It's strange how one text message, 8 words, can unravel everything you've built your identity around. Hey, I think I ate something bad last night. Gonna take a sick day. That's all it took. When I hit send, it didn't feel like lying. It felt like survival because truthfully, I wasn't sick. Not in a way anyone could measure. I just couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't open my laptop. Couldn't fake enthusiasm on a Zoom call. Couldn't pretend that synergy or client satisfaction meant anything when my chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. It was a Tuesday, and I was 35 years old. Too old to be falling apart. Too young to already feel dead inside. The email notification light blinked red on my laptop. Like a heartbeat I wanted to silence. My boss's name, Karen, hovered in my inbox like a ghost. I didn't even open it. I just stared, heart pounding, until the screen blurred from tears I didn't even realize were there. So I did what any responsible adult having an emotional breakdown would do. I crawled back into bed, fully clothed, and let Gordon Ramsay yell at strangers on Kitchen Nightmares while I spooned dry cereal, straight from the box. Every few minutes, I glanced at the wall like it might blink back. 6 hours. That's how long I stayed there, watching other people's disasters because I couldn't face my own. You'd think the crying would help. It didn't. It felt like my body was ejecting years of quiet disappointment. Every unpaid overtime hour, every fake smile during team meetings, every great work. That meant nothing. I wasn't just tired, I was empty. And yet, I couldn't tell anyone. Not my coworkers, not my friends, not even my mom, who still thought I loved my job. Because how do you explain to someone that your dream career became your slow-motion nightmare? By 3 p.m., I realized something awful. I wasn't sick anymore. Physically, I felt fine. But emotionally, I felt hollow, like someone had scraped out my insides and left the shell to answer Slack messages. Still, I stayed committed to the lie. Ordered soup, posted nothing, scrolled aimlessly, let the hours rot. And when night fell, I caught my reflection in the dark screen of my laptop, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the man staring back. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about one sick day. This was about everything that led to it. The years I'd spent trying to be the reliable guy, the long nights pretending to care about numbers that weren't mine, the promotions that never came, the quiet resentment that did, and the saddest part, nobody would ever know how close I came to breaking, because tomorrow, I'd log back and like nothing happened. I'd smile on camera, crack a joke about bad sushi, pretend I was fine, and everyone would believe me, because it's easier to fake wellness than to explain pain. But what if this wasn't just burnout? What if it was something deeper? Something trying to tell me I was living the wrong life altogether. The thought lodged itself in my brain like a splinter. And that night, lying in the glow of my muted TV, I made a quiet promise to myself. Tomorrow, I'd either find a reason to stay, or a reason to walk away for good. The next morning, sunlight stabbed through the blinds like judgment. My alarm buzzed, sharp and accusing. I opened my eyes and saw my work laptop, still sitting on the desk, lid closed, waiting like a loaded gun. For a full minute, I just stared at it. Then I whispered to myself, "You can do this, Richard. Just fake it one more day." I opened the laptop, dozens of unread messages, missed calls, deadlines. And one email from Karen. "Hope you're feeling better. We'll need your report by 10 a.m. 10 a.m. It was 9 for 7. My pulse spiked. My palms went cold. And just like that, my sick day fantasy evaporated. I was back, trapped inside the same machine that was quietly killing me. I started typing, fingers trembling. The same lifeless jargon I'd typed 1,000 times before. But something felt off. Words I used to write automatically now looked meaningless. Revenue, metrics, optimization. God, it all felt fake. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from YouTube, a Kitchen Nightmares clip, the one I'd fallen asleep to. Auto-played again on my screen. Gordon Ramsay shouting, "You can't keep serving garbage and expect people not to notice." I froze. It wasn't about food. It was about me. I was serving garbage to myself. My life, my energy, my time, and people did notice. My friends, my family, maybe even my boss. They just didn't say it out loud. I shut the laptop, sat there in silence, and asked the question that had been stalking me for years. What if I just didn't do this anymore? What if I just didn't do this anymore? The question hung in the air like smoke, invisible, but choking me all the same. Not doing it didn't mean quitting. Not yet. It meant stopping, just stopping. For once. No pretending. No, I'm fine. No fake productivity. I closed the laptop, slowly, like diffusing a bomb. Then I just sat there, in the stale air of my apartment, with sunlight painting dust in the corners. It was too quiet, the kind of silence that exposes every thought you've been running from. I looked around. Coffee mugs with dried rings, clothes I never folded, a plant that had given up 2 weeks ago. It wasn't just my job that was dying. It was me. Somewhere between the spreadsheets and the fake smiles, I'd lost the version of myself who used to want things. The guy who loved cooking on weekends, who stayed up late drawing dumb cartoons, who thought 35 would feel like freedom. He was gone. And all that was left was this hollow corporate echo that said things like, let's circle back. And per my last email, the thought made me laugh. A dry, broken sound that almost scared me. How did I end up here? How did any of us? I picked up my phone, thumb hovering over my messages. I could text someone, my friend maybe, my mom. But what would I say? Hey, I lied about being sick because capitalism ate my soul. No, nobody wants to hear that. Everyone's too busy pretending they're fine. So I put the phone down and went for a walk. The air outside felt unfamiliar, like stepping into a movie after being trapped indoors for too long. The city buzzed around me, but I couldn't match its rhythm. People moved with purpose. I drifted like a ghost. Every street corner, every coffee shop, looked like a parallel universe. One where people hadn't lost themselves yet. At one point, I caught my reflection in a store window. Dark circles, unshaven, ties still hanging loose from yesterday. And I thought, that can't be me. But it was. I ended up in a park, the kind of small, forgotten space squeezed between buildings. A few pigeons, a bench, a tree that had seen better days. I sat down and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for years. That's when my phone buzzed again. Karen. 9:56 a.m. Hey Richard, just checking in. Are you on that report? I stared at the message until my vision blurred. I wanted to type something, anything. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel fear, just defiance. I put my phone face down on the bench. And that's when something strange happened. A little kid, maybe 7, was sitting a few benches away, trying to feed pigeons with a sandwich. The birds weren't interested. He looked frustrated, then laughed, then threw the whole sandwich at them anyway for some reason. It made me smile, that raw, unfiltered reaction. No pretending, no expectations, just emotion, honest and loud. And I realized, somewhere along the line, I'd forgotten how to feel things without permission. When did I start needing an excuse to be human? By noon, I'd walked aimlessly through half the city. My phone was still buzzing, but I ignored it. My boss, my coworkers, notifications piling up like digital guilt. Finally, I ducked into a small diner. One of those quiet, old places where the coffee tastes like burnt hope and nostalgia. The waitress smiled and said, "Rough morning." I nodded. Something like that. She poured coffee. "Work trouble?" I hesitated. "Yeah." Then she said something that hit harder than she probably intended. "Honey, if it's killing you, it's not work, it's poison." I laughed again, but this time, it hurt. Poison, that's exactly what it felt like, a slow drip. Every day, eating me from the inside out. She walked away, and I just sat there, staring at the steam curling off my coffee. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself wonder, what if I stopped drinking the poison? When I finally got home, I saw a voicemail from Karen. "Richard, I really need you to call me. We're all waiting on your deliverables." Her tone was sharp, professional concern coded in frustration, but underneath it, I thought I heard something else. Panic. That's when I realized, it wasn't just me cracking under pressure. Everyone was pretending to hold it together. just like me. And suddenly, I didn't feel so alone. I opened my laptop again, but not to work. I opened a blank document and started typing. Not emails, not reports, just thoughts. Everything I've been holding back. The exhaustion, the fear, the guilt, the lie about being okay, it poured out like confession. I didn't know it then, but that file, the one I titled sick_day_truth.docx, would end up changing my life. Because the next morning, something unexpected happened. That same document, the one I had written for myself, accidentally got sent to my entire team. It was 7:43 a.m. when I realized what I'd done. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The little paper plane icon beside sick_day_truth. DOCX, sent, not saved, not draft, sent. To all staff, company distribution list. My stomach flipped so hard I thought I might actually throw up this time. I just sat there, frozen, watching the spinning circle of my email client like it was the wheel of fate deciding my professio. No execution. I opened my sent folder, praying it wasn't real. But there it was, my midnight confession. My raw, unfiltered truth about burnout, fear, and pretending to be okay, now property of the corporate world. Every ugly line, every thought I was too ashamed to say out loud. Lines like, sometimes I stare at my laptop and wonder if the person typing still exists. I lie about being sick because it's easier than admitting I hate my life. If I disappear tomorrow, I think the only thing people would miss is my out-of-office email. It was all there. And now, everyone knew. I grabbed my phone. Notifications exploding. Slack pings. Emails. Missed calls. My pulse was deafening. I couldn't breathe. Then, a message from Karen. Richard, call me. Now. I stared at it. My throat tightened. The room felt too small. My mind raced through possible damage control strategies. Maybe I could say it was a creative writing exercise. Maybe a mistake. A joke. Mental health awareness draft. But there was no way to unsend truth. Once it's out, it's out. My phone rang again. Karen. I answered. Richard, she said, her voice low. Clipped. What was that? My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Understand that went to everyone. Clients, team leads, HR, everyone. Silence. I couldn't even swallow. She exhaled, long and shaky. Look, I don't even know what to say. Are you okay? That question, are you okay, hit harder than I expected. Nobody at work had ever asked me that before. Not really. I almost laughed. Honestly, no. I'm not. The line went quiet. I thought she'd hang up, but she didn't. Richard, can you come in today? Not for work, just to talk. I hesitated. You're not firing me. Let's just talk first, she said softly. Please. Then she hung up. By the time I got to the office, whispers had already replaced greetings. Heads turned. Screens dimmed as I walked past. I could feel the weight of my own words hanging in the air. At my desk, I saw something that stopped me cold. A sticky note on my keyboard. In shaky handwriting. Someone had written, "Thank you for saying what we're all thinking." My chest tightened. Then I saw another note, and another. Little anonymous scribbles from co-workers I barely knew. You're not alone. I feel this every day. That took guts. By the time I reached Karen's office, my hands were trembling. She looked different, not angry, just tired. There was a silence between us that felt like standing at the edge of something fragile. I read it, she said finally. All of it. I nodded, unable to meet her eyes. You weren't wrong, she added quietly. About any of it. I looked up. She sighed. Do you think you're the only one crying in their car before work, Richard? The only one lying about migraines just to get a day off? Her voice cracked, just slightly. I've been doing this for 15 years, she said, and every day feels like drowning a little slower. The confession hit me like a mirror shattering between us. She leaned back. You just said it out loud. That's the only difference. For a while, we just sat there, two professionals stripped of their armor, surrounded by polite office furniture and years of silence. Then she said something I'll never forget. What if we stopped pretending? What if this company actually let people be human? I almost laughed. You think they'd go for that? She smiled sadly. No, but maybe it's time someone tried. And in that moment, something shifted. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as a job title, not as an employee ID number, but as a person. We ended up talking for an hour. Not about deadlines or projects, but about the invisible weight everyone carried. The culture of quiet exhaustion. The way people smile through pain because vulnerability didn't fit the brand. When I finally left her office, I expected to feel doomed. Instead, I felt lighter. Maybe the lie, my sick day, wasn't a failure. Maybe it was a scream my soul had been trying to make for years. That afternoon, HR sent a company-wide email, effective immediately. We're introducing mental health flex days. No questions asked. I stared at the screen. My hands shook. It wasn't world-changing, but it was something. A crack in the wall. A breath of air where there hadn't been any. Later that night, I opened my laptop again. Same desk. Same glow. But this time, I didn't feel dread. I opened a new document. Title, Things I Want to Feel Again. And I wrote peace. Freedom. Meaning. Myself. For the first time in a long time, I didn't cry watching Kitchen Nightmares. I just watched. Smiled a little because maybe, just maybe, the nightmare part of my life was finally ending. 3 days. That's how long it took for my private meltdown to become public. At first, it was just whispers inside the company. Quiet thank yous in hallways. Small nods in elevators. Then a few brave co-workers started posting vague, cryptic tweets. Someone finally said what needed to be said. By day 3, the actual document had leaked. Someone, I still don't know who, had forwarded sick_day_truth docx to a friend outside the company. From there, it spread like wildfire. Reddit threads, LinkedIn posts, Medium articles quoting my words like, gospel, the modern worker's silent cry for help, anonymous employee's confession exposes, corporate burnout epidemic. Double quotes anonymous. That was the only thing saving me. Nobody knew it was me. Not yet. But every headline, every post, felt like someone reading my diary out loud to the world. It was surreal. I'd spent years feeling invisible. Now, I was everywhere, but still unseen. Friday morning, Karen called me into her office again. She looked pale. Richard, she said, closing the blinds. We've got a problem. She turned her monitor toward me. There it was, my words, on a viral blog, sitting under the title, The Man Who Broke the Corporate Spell. I scanned the screen. Heart-pounding. Comments flooded the bottom. Thousands of them. This broke me. I thought I was the only one. Whoever wrote this, thank you. Then I saw one that made me stop breathing. I know who wrote this. My stomach dropped. Karen must have seen the panic in my face. Don't worry, she said quickly. We'll contain it. HR's drafting a statement. Just keep your head down. But I couldn't. Something inside me had shifted. Karen, I said quietly. What if I don't want to contain it? She blinked. What are you saying? I'm saying, maybe it's time I stopped hiding. That night, I sat on my couch, laptop open, cursor blinking over an empty post box. My fingers hovered above the keys. I could stay anonymous, keep my job, let the story belong to the internet, or I could tell the truth, my truth, and let whatever came next happen. For years, I built my life around being careful, controlled, professional, predictable, but maybe for once, being reckless was the only honest thing left to do. So I started typing. My name is Richard Carter. 3 days ago, I sent a file by accident, a confession I wrote to myself after lying about being sick. I wasn't sick with a virus. I was sick of pretending. And if you've ever sat at your desk wondering if your exhaustion is normal, it's not. We're not machines. We're people. And we're allowed to break sometimes. I hit post. And just like that, my anonymity was gone. By morning, my inbox looked like a war zone. Thousands of messages, some from strangers, some from co-workers, some from journalists. But one message stood out, a name I hadn't seen in years. Eli. We'd worked together at my first job out of college before I learned how to hide burnout behind passion. He'd quit corporate life to start a small nonprofit that helped young people navigate work, anxiety, His message was short. You finally said it, man. Took you long enough. Call me. I did. When I heard his voice, something cracked open inside me. He sounded alive. Free. Like someone who'd escaped the gravity I was still trapped in. Richard, he said. Do you realize what you've done? You just gave people permission to feel human again. I didn't mean to, I said. He laughed. Exactly. That's why it worked. He paused, then added, listen. I'm hosting a small mental health event next month. Real talk, real people, no corporate nonsense. I think you should come. Maybe even speak. Speak. I repeated, half laughing. Eli, I can barely speak to my coworkers without my voice shaking. All the more reason you should. They need to hear from someone real. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about it. Speaking, sharing. Me, the guy who lied about food poisoning because he couldn't face his inbox. Standing in front of strangers, telling them the truth. But maybe that's what courage really is. Not being fearless, but being tired of pretending. So, I said yes. A week later, I stood backstage at a small community center. Folding chairs, cheap coffee, maybe 50 people. Nothing fancy. But when I looked out at the crowd, I saw myself in every face, the exhaustion, the quiet desperation, the practiced smiles. When they called my name, I walked up to the mic. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped my notes. I took a deep breath and said, Hi, my name's Richard, and I lied to my boss about food poisoning because I didn't know how to say, I can't do this anymore. Laughter rippled through the room, gentle, understanding. And then, silence, the kind that listens. I told them everything. The burnout, the fear, the day I spent watching kitchen nightmares and feeling like the nightmare was my own life. And when I finished, something unbelievable happened. People stood, applauding, crying, thanking me. For the first time, I didn't feel ashamed. I felt alive. When I got home, I sat at the same desk where it all began. Same laptop, same glow. But this time, the air felt different, lighter. I didn't just survive the sick day lie. I transformed because of it. Maybe the truth doesn't destroy us. Maybe it rebuilds us. Piece by painful piece. It happened faster than I could process. Within a week of the event, my speech clip hit 3 million views. Then 10. Then 20. The internet had officially claimed me. The man who cried over cereal and Gordon Ramsay had become a symbol. The burnout guy. Podcasts wanted interviews. Companies wanted to partner. Even HR magazines were quoting me, ironically. The same ones that once wrote about maximizing productivity. And for a while, I let it happen. It felt intoxicating. All those years of being invisible. Now I couldn't scroll without seeing my own words on someone's motivational post. We're not lazy. We're exhausted from surviving. Richard Carter, that line alone got 500,000 likes. People were printing it on mugs. It should have felt amazing. But deep down, I knew something was off. Because once again, I wasn't a person. I was a product. Emails flooded in from strangers. Your story saved me. I quit my toxic job because of you. You made me realize it's okay to break. I read them all. Every single one. Some made me cry. Some made me smile. But then there were others. You think you're special? We all have bad days. Stop glorifying weakness. Maybe if you worked harder, you wouldn't be depressed. At first, I ignored them. Then I started believing them because the more I spoke about burnout, the more I started feeling it again. Just in a different costume, this time. It wasn't the company demanding my time. It was the world. Everyone wanted a piece of me, my pain, my voice, my healing. And suddenly, the thing that saved me was starting to consume me all over again. I remember one night in particular. I'd just gotten off a live podcast. The host had asked, So Richard, what's next for you? A book, a TED Talk, a brand. I smiled through it, said all the right things. But when the camera turned off, I sat there in silence for a long time. The irony hit me like a brick. I'd escaped one performance, only to build another. I wasn't living. I was curating again. Performing authenticity for an audience that only clapped when it was packaged neatly. And then, as if fate couldn't resist twisting the knife, I got an email from Karen. Richard, thought you should know. The company's rolling out a wellness week. They're using your quote on posters. You've inspired a lot of change here. I opened the attached photo. A smiling stock photo of an employee holding coffee, with my words printed in pastel font. We're not machines. We're allowed to break. Company wellness initiative sponsored by Mind Balance. My chest went cold. They turned my breakdown into marketing. The next morning, I turned off my phone, closed my laptop, and walked. No destination. Just air. The city felt quieter that day. Maybe because I wasn't trying to escape it anymore. After a while, I ended up in the same park. The one with the pigeons and the little boy. He wasn't there this time. Just me, and the sound of leaves scraping the pavement. I sat on the same bench and whispered to myself, "You did it again, Richard. You turn honesty into a job." A laugh escaped me, sharp, bitter, but real. That's when a voice behind me said, "You're Richard Carter, right?" I turned. A woman stood there, maybe late 20s. She looked nervous, clutching her phone like it might disappear. "Sorry," she said quickly. "I just wanted to say thank you. Your video. It helped me quit my job before it broke me." I nodded, forcing a smile. "That means a lot, really." She hesitated. "Are you okay? You look tired." That question again, the one that always cut straight to the truth. I wanted to lie, to say, "I'm fine." But instead I said, "Yeah, just figuring out how to exist without turning it into content." She smiled. That kind of knowing smile you only get from people who've lived the same pain. Then she said, "Maybe you don't have to figure it out. Maybe just existing is enough." And just like that, she walked away. Her words lingered. Maybe existing is enough. That night, I opened my laptop again. Not to post, not to write, just to think. I stared at the blinking cursor, the same one that had witnessed my meltdown months ago. Then I typed, "I think healing is quieter than anyone tells you. It's not a speech. It's not a hashtag. Sometimes it's just choosing peace over purpose." I didn't post it. I just saved it for me. Because maybe some truths aren't meant to go viral. A few weeks later, I moved. Small apartment, near the ocean. No corporate job. No followers counting my recovery like a scoreboard. Most mornings, I walk to the water and drink coffee while the world wakes up. Sometimes I write. Sometimes I don't. And when people ask what I do for a living, I just say, I live. Because after everything, that's the one job I finally learned how to do right. 3 years passed. No interviews. No speeches. No noise. Just me, the sea, and the slow, stubborn art of learning how to exist without proving it. Life became smaller, but in the best way. I started noticing the things I used to scroll past. The way sunlight hit the kitchen tiles. The sound of coffee bubbling. The weight of silence that didn't need to be filled. Sometimes I'd see clips of my old life float across the internet. My crying face, my speech, my meltdown. They didn't sting anymore. It was like watching a ghost version of myself, still trapped in the screen, performing survival. One morning, while sorting through old boxes, I found something wedged between old notebooks and office ID cards. A yellowed envelope. My handwriting. It was dated the night before I quit my corporate job. I'd written it in a moment of collapse. A letter to myself I never mailed. The ink was smudged, but the words were still there. If you're reading this, it means you survived. But don't just survive. Please, don't go back to performing. Don't let the world convince you that you're only worthy when you're exhausted. If you ever forget why you left, remember this. You wanted to feel alive, not just productive. Love, Richard, the broken one who finally told the truth. My throat tightened, because for the first time in years, I didn't feel pity for that version of me. I felt gratitude. That man, tired, angry, trembling, he'd been brave enough to collapse publicly so I could quietly rebuild privately. He was my beginning and my ending. That afternoon, I walked to the beach. The sky was the color of calm, soft gray, like the world was exhaling. I read the letter once more, folded it, and buried it under the sand. A small, silent burial for a version of myself I no longer needed to keep alive. And as the waves touched my feet, I whispered, "Thank you for breaking," because that's how I finally learned how to breathe. Months later, a message arrived in my inbox. No subject line, No fanfare. Just, "Hi Richard. You don't know me, but your story found me when I needed it most. I was ready to give up on life. Then I watched your video. Thank you for saving me." I sat there staring at the screen for a long time, not in pride, but peace, because that's what healing really is. It's not fixing the past. It's learning to live gently with the scars left behind. Now, I still record sometimes. Not for followers. Just for myself. The camera sits by my desk, gathering dust, waiting for stories that don't need to trend, just to be told. And when people ask, "What happened to that guy who went viral?" I just smile and say, he stopped performing and started living. Maybe we don't need to go viral to matter. Maybe being real, even when no one's watching, is enough.